Welcome to Talking Early Years, a showcase training podcast with Ellen Roberts
and Gemma Carr.
Hello and welcome to our Safeguarding Short series. In this series we are going to be discussing various topics within the world of safeguarding, which is massive. And today joining me on our Safeguarding Shorts is my co-host Gemma. Hi Gemma.
Hello Ellen, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And you?
Yes, good, thank you. Good.
Yeah. Tell me, what is our first Safeguarding Short all about?
First Safeguarding Short we're going to be looking at is British values. Because having worked in settings, obviously sometimes this can be a sticking point for people who work in nurseries. And sometimes, this is going to sound bizarre, but it's that's that butt clench question. Can you talk to me about British values and how you promote it? And you do that, oh no moment kind of thing, that butt clench kind of moment. Do I know what they are? And it's like, yes, I know what they all are, and you'll reel them all off, and then you go and then the inspector will go, okay, so how do you promote those in your setting? And you go and you can't quite put your finger on it. So that's why we kind of want to kind of deep dive into sort of British values a little bit more, pull them apart, how they are seen in settings, practical ways that you can promote them in your settings, and ways that you can just, so when someone says, how do you promote in your setting, you can just go blah, and it's out, and you've got it and you know it. So talking British values, so we've got our 4 British values. So we've got democracy, rule of law, individual liberty, mutual respect and tolerance. I know some settings around the place have got sort of little acronyms for them. If you've got an acronym, great, use them if it's useful to you. If not, it's 4 things. Let's just keep drumming it in and be confident with exactly what those British values are.
Definitely. So our British values, just for anybody that's not quite sure listening in today, so British values form part of the prevent duty that everybody within education, so whether that's our early years education right the way through schools, colleges, sixth form, university and adult education, we are bound by law to prevent extremism and radicalisation in the UK, and our British values underpin our strategy of how to do that. So it's about promoting the values that we hold close to us in the UK, about how we live in society. They were defined back in 2014 by UK government. And it always actually forms a bit of an interesting discussion, really. I watched a YouTube video a few years ago where somebody was just asking people just in the street, really, to define what British values they think we have. And it was things like stiff upper lip and, things like that. So it's always an interesting discussion where we think about British values. The terms that we use with democracy, rule of law, those kind of things aren't always the most obvious. But actually, it's not the most obvious because it is so integrated in who we are.
I think it's a topic that's quite specific to us in teaching in early years. If you, like you say, if you were to ask people on the street, they probably may not know at all what we're talking about when we're talking British values. And like you say, they'll kind of just hodgepodge something like stiff upper lip or something like that, but that's not sort of what we're sort of discussing, really, is it? So
absolutely.
It's kind of what the question for me is, kind of why are they a thing? And it's sort of the history can go back as far as Romans and Saxon. It's just this has become the given name for them, hasn't it? This has become
absolutely
the definition of the title for them.
Yes, exactly that. And they're designed to help improve the spiritual, moral, social and cultural development of students and individuals, so children included, so from, as I say, from early years onwards. And it's all about helping us to recognize how we can integrate those values into our daily life and why we need to be using them. So legislation that includes our British values alongside our prevent duty includes things like the Human Rights Act and the Equality Act. So I don't know if you want to speak a bit more about the Equality Act there, Gemma.
Yeah, so Equality Act runs alongside specifically individual liberty as well, and respecting everybody as individual. They have the right to be treated as individuals, and that's sort of the 9 characteristics within the Equality Act is kind of interlinked into the British values throughout them.
Absolutely, definitely. And they are so important because it's just a general reminder for the society that we wish to live in and how we navigate modern and diverse Britain. We all want to live in a mutually respectful environment where we are allowed to speak our minds and believe what we want to believe, or have values, or eat what we want to eat, and whatever it might be. But it's really important that, as important as that is to you as an individual, it's also important to every single individual around you as well. So having those values of mutual respect, tolerance, having your individual liberties is really important to uphold.
It's a way that we can develop children to be more well-rounded, and to see, like you say, in my eyes, to kind of make a more supporting, tolerant, engaging society, to be more multicultural, to be a more understanding of everybody's individualities and differences. And that's what makes Britain what we want it to be.
Absolutely. How do they affect us in everyday life, though? Do they affect us in everyday life?
Yeah, definitely. So sort of thinking about the everyday, so democracy, so this is in settings, like you say, this is everyday life. So democracy comes into play for us because we'll be looking at participating in the local and national elections. You're allowed to sign, or you've got the right to sign petitions and joining in protests. So that's democracy, and kind of how you can play a part into that. Rule of law, we can be looking at laws ensure the public order, protecting individual rights, and holding people accountable for their actions. Individual liberty, so you might have the freedom to, or you have the freedom to choose your own religion, expressing your own beliefs, and making personal decisions without interference, as long as you're following the law. And mutual respect and tolerance. So this is people from different cultures and faiths living and working together, respecting each other's rights and traditions.
I think it's a really important thing to actually reflect on those 4 points. You've really covered some interesting ways. And for me, I'd never really think about it, to be quite honest. You sort of live your life and you don't really sort of think about whether you're integrating those. But you're absolutely right. We do just make our own decisions as we go along, as long as we're following the law. If you decide that you want to go on holiday, you can go and do that. You can go to the supermarket and choose what you want for dinner. It's something that we very much take for granted because it's our culture, it's our social norm here. But actually, it's really important to reflect on those and understand our place in the world as well, and hold those values close to us. We can't always influence other cultures, and it's not necessarily right to either. Absolutely, part of this, it's respecting that other people don't believe in having those freedoms and liberties. But in the UK, that is absolutely something that we hold close to us. I notice around this year, actually, in terms of mutual respect and tolerance and looking at different cultures, loads more decorations for Lunar New Year. I'm seeing most supermarkets I've been in recently, Co-op, Tesco, everywhere I've been, there's been Lunar New Year celebrations, which I absolutely love. I love that multiculturalism and learning something new. I think it just makes life a bit more interesting, to be quite honest. You've got the world on your doorstep in the UK. How lucky are we?
Yeah. And being in our location where we are very multicultural. We are very diverse in our area as well. And like you say, it's just seeing all of that. It's interesting for us. It's it's broadening our knowledge. It's gaining that. And I think that's one thing I always like to promote. Again, it's that having those conversations with people and saying, what is your faith? What is your religion? How do you promote this? How do you support that? Use it as that learning tool as well, isn't it?
Definitely. How then do you think people can see this day to day in their early years setting? Obviously, we know that democracy, for example, is about voting and things, but obviously children don't do that. How do you integrate it into everyday practice?
So you say that, but it's kind of those in inverted commas mini votes, right? So you could be at circle time, and you could sit with the children and be like, right, so we've got 2 activities today. So there's we're going to do one in the garden and we're going to do one inside. Put your hand up if you want to be going outside. 5 children put their hand up to want to go outside.
That's
It's
clever.
and going, yeah, sure, there you go, off you go, out you go. It's those mini votes on what they might want to do, or kind of even like showing them 2 different activities and go, you could come and play here or you could go and play there. Which one would you like to do? I'd like to go for that one. It's giving them that choice, but also if sometimes you've got 2 children who are very, very close, and one of the children says, I want to go in the garden, the other one says, I want to stay outside, and the one in the garden goes, no, we should go in the garden, we should both be going in the garden. And you could kind of go, no, it's okay, that maybe they don't want to go in the garden right now, maybe it's even if it's a bit too chilly for them, so that's okay, they can say so. So teaching the children to value each other's opinions and decision-making skills with each other as well, and kind of discussing that with them.
Love that.
Yeah.
Clever, really clever.
Also, rule of law, very common in older rooms. So maybe in the toddlers or preschool rooms, you've got your, again, inverted commas, your golden rules. Some settings call them different things, but those are kind of the rules that they abide by. So listening to each other, gentle hands, inside voices, those sorts of things can all come into your rule of law. So that is all something that children will be, you're promoting that, and that goes straight into that rule of law. Also routine and tidy up time. So knowing those kind of those boundaries.
Fantastic, brilliant. And my favourite British value actually is the mutual respect and tolerance. I love talking about mutual respect and tolerance because it relates so well into E&D and having those discussions. So I know we spoke earlier about different cultures and celebrating different religious events, for example, which is absolutely great. But what else can we do?
So again, celebrating those festivals, cultures, promoting that, asking the parents, could you bring in some bits and bobs for that? Getting the parents to have that involvement into it as well. Multi-ethnicity dolls.
Yes.
As well, and books from other cultures. So whether that could even just be different languages, there could, some languages are written in a script rather than our traditional alphabet. So it could be things just for the children to see their traditional script in books. Obviously, you're not going to be able to read them, but it's something from their home culture. It could be something that they see, I don't know, their mum's recipes are written in this script, so, their parents' handwriting, but it's something that makes them feel comfortable and welcomed in that setting as well. So that's sort of that mutual respect and tolerance.
I love that. And they feel represented as well, which is really important, to feel, for anybody to feel like an alien in a situation is really uncomfortable, and especially at that early age. I think that's really interesting. I love the idea about the books from other cultures as well. I know I've seen people do trips to different museums or places with the children that they can go to explore different ethnicities, ages as well, culture. We're not just talking about culture and background or race, religion in this. We're talking about all of our 9 protected characteristics, as you mentioned at the start there, Gemma, and things like visiting old people's homes. And I know lots of settings go there, perhaps at Christmas, to sing carols to the elderly residents, but that's a lovely way to integrate children into a different environment and respecting other people and what they may require. So seeing people that may require mobility aids and different requirements for health, that's a really nice way to build respect and tolerance for other age ranges within a society as well. Not everybody is able or mobile as much as an able-bodied individual. Also, I like seeing the different types of language being used in nurseries as well, especially non-verbal language, non-spoken language. So things like British Sign Language or Makaton. I love seeing that, and different ways to explore language and communication more particularly with children. I think that's a really interesting way of adapting that mutual respect and tolerance into a more practical way. I think that's a really interesting way to do that.
Definitely. Thinking individual liberty as well, so kind of allowing them to make those choices and expressing their emotions. So to be able to express those emotions and kind of their individuality, and whether that is their emotion. And I'm just angry today. Okay, sort of thing as well, and kind of being able to express that and kind of talking about that with the children. So that's kind of where it comes into play with the individual liberty.
Absolutely fascinating. I really enjoyed our little first safeguarding short there. I hope you all found that useful as well. Just exploring a little bit, a very first sort of dabble into British values and what they are, how we can promote them, and how we see them in everyday life, just to get the juices flowing and the thought processes going. Have a think, get in touch with us as well, see what you think. How do you integrate them into your practice, in your settings? We'd absolutely love to hear from you. But thank you so much again for tuning in today. Your input, as always, really helps shape our conversation, so do please get in touch.
And please don't forget to like, share and follow this podcast to stay updated. As we say, this is one of our shorts, so it's of an additional. And as always, let's keep the conversation going about early years. Until next time, take care and keep making a difference.